Hi, everyone, and welcome to Presently Aquí with Claudia. Presently Aquí is a community of healers from around the world that come together to share the remarkable journeys about their path to self-discovery and self-healing in hopes to motivate and inspire you to do the same. And today I have an amazing goddess with me, Tracy Jay Thomas, who is a past life regressionist. And I am so excited about today's conversation. And yes, I always say that, but this is a different take on my usual podcasting, I would say, because I had a session with Tracy. So welcome, Tracy.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here, Claudia.
So great to have you. I'm so excited. So, per usual, we're going to take 3 deep breaths together to set the tone for this beautiful conversation. If you are driving, please do this later, or just make sure that you are not disengaging from what you're doing while you're driving. So we're going to take about 3 breaths. I think it's usually about 4, but either way, close your eyes if you feel comfortable. If not, just place your eyes somewhere where you are not distracted. Um, so we're going to take a first deep breath together, and we're going to see what it feels like to be in our bodies at this moment. And on the second deep breath, we're going to just be with our minds and just see where it's at. No judgment. And the third deep breath, we're going to take into our hearts just to sit in that peaceful space for a second. And the last breath will just be sitting with our entire selves and just feeling all of that love. And then when you're ready, just open your eyes. And then we can begin this wonderful conversation. I always love doing that to cleanse the day from before. So to begin this wonderful conversation, Goddess Tracy, what are some of the challenges that you face on your path to self-discovery?
Claudia, I think from very early on, I was fascinated by reincarnation, and I was reading channeling material, a lot of channeling material from a very young age, for about 12 years old. And I think all my life, I wanted to ease people's suffering. This is in retrospect, but probably the biggest challenge was taking care of myself while being in a state of wanting to help others. You have to, it sticks in my head when you think you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you can put it on your child or anyone else around you. And I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges for somebody who feels other people's suffering, who is an empath, who is quite aware of, other people's pain and trauma.
Right.
So taking care of myself, I think, is probably still, I struggle with this, as one of the major challenges, and wanting to help and heal and ease other people's sufferings, because I've always been involved in healing. I did reflexology. I've done therapeutic touch. I've done many healing modalities, and but past life regression sits with me the best.
Yeah, definitely. And as you're, such a young age and feeling and sensing and also diving into all this research, how did you feel being a part of society, like especially as a teenager and going to college? Like, was that difficult to be integrated or trying to be in the space with them?
It's I definitely felt like I didn't belong here. There were moments when I would be very depressed and longing to go home.
Yes.
Because it didn't feel like it was here. I was a kid that didn't have too many friends. I had 2 or 3 close friends. I was not in the popular club.
Yeah.
And, you know, seeing life from a different space, knowing that we
Mm.
choose to be born into the families that we're born into, knowing that, we are not the most intelligent creatures in the solar system, let alone the universe.
Right.
How do you convey that to people? For many, many years, in the 70s, you kept this all under
Uh,
wraps. You
uh-huh.
didn't talk to
Right.
people about it, right?
Right. Unless you were doing LSD at the time.
Which I wasn't. So
Right.
yeah, so it was difficult to talk to people about this stuff, and maybe that's why I kept a lot of it under my hat. I read an awful lot of spiritual books,
Yeah.
where I felt like, okay, these people are on my wavelength. I understand this stuff.
Right.
This is where I
Yeah.
belong.
Amazing. So kind of felt like you weren't totally alone, but in your immediate radius of life, you did feel like a little bit outcasted because of what you knew.
Yeah, for sure. I was lucky in my home. My mother was very much into the spiritual side of things,
Yeah.
and I could always talk with her about it. My sister's not quite so much, and it was good because I could still even, talk to my dad and bring him along, and that was nice. So in
That's
my immediate
beautiful.
family, yeah, thank you. In my immediate family, it was safe. It was
Yes.
safe. Yeah.
That's good. That's really important. And I think that that's probably because it all starts with the home. So, like, you having that safety helped you nourish your gifts and
Hmm.
to do, we'll get into what you do today, but that is something that simmers, right? Because sometimes we have a difficult time when it is just us in the family,
Oh,
right?
oh yeah.
And then you're just there completely alone, and then just what do I do here, right? So it's beautiful to hear that you had that experience.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of people that have come across that had that nourishment and safety at home have always led this life of also learning different pathologies and different research and reading other beautiful books because you felt safe enough to further research and further dive into these things, and it allows you to unravel this light of yours, right? To just kind of keep growing
Mm-hmm.
outwardly, and then the opposite, right? It's just harder for the, I guess, the lotus flower to keep going up by itself versus like having other lotus flowers around it, just like, hey, we're all together, like we're gonna get up there eventually. So it's really, really beautiful. And then and in your, as we're going through your journey in college, did you study something like normal, or did you just go straight away into all these other modalities?
Well, I guess what happened was I didn't go to college. I got my
Mm,
real estate license at 18
mm,
years old.
nice.
Yeah, I did. And then, who was going to buy the biggest investment of their life from an 18-year-old? So I was only in there for about 6 months, and then I moved on and I started doing aesthetics
Mm,
because I think for me, one of the exciting things, and it's been long standing throughout my whole life, is having the transformation.
hmm.
Transformation is so exciting for me. So whether you're taking a soon to be bride and, you know, dolling her up for her wedding day
Yes.
when she looks at herself and says, "Oh my gosh, that's me." And so that transformative thing was really powerful for me. I
Mm,
had a nail shop, nails, tanning, makeup. And then from there, I found myself becoming quite even more so empathic with my
mm,
clients. Would sit down in front of me. I would hold their hands to give them a manicure
yeah.
and feel their
Mhm,
physical issues.
mhm,
I had one lady sit down in front of me and she had broken both legs in a ski accident, and
mm,
my both legs started throbbing, and I had said to her, like, "What did you do to your legs?" So I was getting very empathic with people,
right,
holding their hands, sitting very closely to them.
right.
And so that, I think, spurred me on to learning further healing modalities. And at
Mm,
that time I learned, I took reflexology, I think, first, and then therapeutic touch.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. But I think that was a smart move though. 18, you're like going straight to real estate. But you do need a little bit more experience to just start selling. But it was very ambitious, I have to say.
My mother had taken a year off from teaching school to become a realtor. And I thought, yeah, okay, I don't know what I want to do after high school.
Right,
So I'll try this.
right.
And I did end up leaving aesthetics to go back into real estate. That was the beautiful thing about it for me. I was able
Right,
to go
because you
back
already
and forth.
had it. That's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So, um, leading into your journey now that you've already already started, well, knowing who you are and your abilities, and then starting these other modalities, was there any particular point in your life where you felt that, led you to do your past life regression? Like as you're studying all these beautiful modalities, or did you also feel that a lot of these things kind of accumulated leading you there?
I was always fascinated with the subconscious mind. That's a good
Mm,
question. And so like the whole process, uh, the whole time I'm growing up, I'm fascinated with the subconscious mind and how you can
mm,
program it
yes,
with hypnosis. So I
yes.
had done some preliminary sort of hypnosis messing around with my girlfriends at late high school sort of age.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I'd invite them all over and hypnotize four of them. So then after that, I took my certification, but I had already been doing some hypnosis,
Mm-hmm.
self-taught, of course. And then I got my certification. And very shortly after that, the turning point, I think, with the past life regression, I always thought, maybe I'll see if I can regress somebody. But in they don't really go deep into this in the hypnosis training program.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a boyfriend who had a really painful shoulder, and he would complain about this every couple of weeks. His shoulder would bother him, and there must have been some kind of trigger, but I wasn't aware of it at the time. So one day I said to him, well, let's hypnotize you and let's
Yeah.
see if we can find out something. Let's see
Yeah.
if I can get to the source of this shoulder
Uh-huh.
issue. And I think that was the clincher. That was the
Mm,
clincher when I went like, yay, this is so exciting. Because what happened was he had a full-blown experience.
wow.
He went back to medieval times,
Mm,
and were we were thrown right into a war that he was
mm,
fighting as an archer from
mm,
within the tower,
mm.
and they were surrounded by the enemy.
Right.
And he was very, very, very resentful about being in this war at all, period.
Mm, mm.
He did not want to fight. He was very, very angry. And, the emotions just come pouring out, and he's
Yeah.
cursing and he's swearing. And so he had been shot in the shoulder with
Oh,
an arrow from the enemy side.
right,
And his comrades had dragged him away from the window. And I guess he died at that point from
right,
this wound in the shoulder. But, he was just very, very angry about being in the war and fighting in a war he didn't want to be in.
right.
And so I brought him out, and his shoulder pain was gone.
Mm,
And now he knew what it was, and it has not returned.
right.
So that was really quite an amazing moment for me. That was probably the turning point.
Mm,
Because I'd always been about healing people and about helping them transform, and
mhm.
this was the biggest transformation I could ever contribute,
Yeah,
to someone's life. So
right.
that was
Yeah,
very exciting for me.
right. Because the saying is, if you heal one person, you already did a lot.
Well,
Like, if-
yeah. And you
right.
can apply it, you can
And you can
apply your
apply.
knowledge. And so from that
Yes,
point on, I just kept digging and studying and
right.
practicing, and yeah.
And it's remarkable how you're already doing it in your late teens intuitively. Like you didn't even go to school yet for this.
Yeah.
and you were already trying it, like, I feel like I can do this. And it's also, I guess, ambitious. You're already in that space before you even got to, after college, after high school, just to be like, hey, to your friends, like, can I try this on you?
Yeah. Yeah. And they were very sweet to allow me to do that with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And this
Yeah.
boyfriend of yours will never forget you, because I
Oh, we're
mean,
still
what
friends.
you see, I'm not
Yeah.
surprised, because that's
Yeah.
something you'll never forget, that you give him some big aspect back to himself.
It was a
And
gift.
yes,
It was a
absolutely.
gift. Yeah.
How can you,
Yeah.
yeah, not have this person in your life, like, no, this person gave me such a beautiful gift. And yeah, amazing, amazing. So
We gave each other a gift, you
mm,
know?
yes, yes, right.
Yeah.
Because you gave him the healing, and
Mm-hmm.
then he allowed you to open the gates of
Mm-hmm.
what you do. And we're gonna get into that now. And just kind of, I know we introduced you as a past life regressionist, but and you study other modalities. What other modalities have you discovered and researched throughout time?
Well, I have worked with Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
I have done up to second level Reiki. I've done therapeutic touch, which is like the working on somebody's energy field around their
Yeah.
body,
Okay.
just not even touching them, but working with that field. That was pretty fascinating and very effective. And then, of course, reflexology before
Mm.
that. But I haven't studied it, but we did use it quite a bit with my parents as they were aging, and even myself. Iridology is fascinating concept, and that's when you look at the color of the eye, and there are striations and marks in the color of the eye that indicate, illness or
Mm. Mm.
damage.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty fascinating as well.
That
So, and
is, yeah. No, go ahead. Sorry.
no, and then, mostly it's the hypnosis. I'm excited
Mm.
about the hypnosis. I've done retreats and on meditations and breath work.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And how did you finally settle on this? As well, first, how long have you been doing the past life regression?
I was certified as a hypnotherapist, as a hypnotist in 2000.
Okay.
And then I worked with Mark, I guess, in about 2001. And then, all along there, I worked in some chiropractic offices. But
Mm-hmm.
when people started moving online, and with this whole
Mm-hmm.
COVID thing,
Mm-hmm.
I decided to go online and do it. And
Yeah.
it's been a boon. I just love being able to
Yeah.
talk with people around the planet,
Yeah.
and work with them and impact their lives. And it's been very exciting. So,
That's beautiful. Yeah. So, now that we're here and you're doing this fabulous work, um, I know you've had plenty of clients throughout time. Is there any one or any few that kind of shifted you deeper into your work?
well, certainly with every client, there's something to learn.
Mm.
And, in many ways, I give it, first of all, I have a couple of beefs. One beef.
Yes.
And I really have a hard time. I feel bad for people who are told that by a psychic,
Yeah.
or, that who they were in another lifetime, what they experienced
Right.
in another, this is their karma from another
Right.
lifetime. Because when they take that in, if they actually believe that,
Yes.
they're depriving themselves of having the clearing that can take place when you actually have a past life regression. As there's
Yes.
powerful clearing that
Yes.
can take place, and when you simply accept that someone said you were this or said you were that, you
Yes.
really are depriving yourself. So I really would
Mm-hmm.
encourage people to have a past life regression, because the sensations and the experiences
Mm-hmm.
that you have while you're in this state of another lifetime
Yeah.
are so vivid. They're
Yes.
so clear. They are
Mm-hmm.
so real.
Yes.
You can smell, hear, taste. You just feel
Yes.
the sensations that this is what you're depriving yourself of when you just let someone tell
Right.
you this was your karma, or you were terrible in another life, and that's why you're getting, this bad turn of events in this life.
Right.
That really bothers me. I really wish that people would just go and do it and not be afraid of it.
Right. Right. Because the fear there is to feel, right? And people are afraid to feel in general.
That is so true. That is so true. They're just emotions.
Just emotions. And that's why I do what I do, right? Because what people don't fail to realize is that there are two sets of emotions. There's the mental emotion state, and there's the heart, the real emotional state. And also, actually the third, the body, because when the body's hungry, it feels hungry, right? And then when you're watching a movie that's, let's say, a rom-com, a romantic comedy, and then you're crying and laughing, those are mental emotions. It's not really happening because those are fictional characters. And then there's when someone passes in your life and you feel that deep grief within your heart, right? So these are different states of emotions, and people don't know the differences. Obviously, they know when they're hungry, but they don't realize that that's the body feeling, right? They don't have the acknowledgement. And people are so afraid of their anger and their fear. Speaking of that as well, for me, I've just recently finally expressed my anger because I realized that I've never allowed myself to do so because I was always thinking of everyone else. And I never had a rebellious stage because I was too busy being the role model for my brothers and helping raising them and things like that. So this time around, it's like, I've never, how can I talk about something I've never experienced? My anger, it's the angry teenager, let her go, let her rage and do what is needed. And it's so needed because you learn to not judge it because it needs to do what it needs to do, like grief does.
And when it's done, it's done.
And when it's done, now it's moved through you. Now you've learned a new aspect of yourself, and now it can integrate into you, same as your past life regression. I just got chills.
Exactly. I got chills too. That's true. You have to move through the emotion, and it is what it is. And then you have processing that happens afterwards that reconciles the feelings.
Yes. And there is, once it moves through you, the processing, it's just natural. It's just what happens. You don't have to sit and process mentally because your mind wants to do it. Like, I want to process. No. It's the feeling going through you, and now your body's like flooded or emptied out from the emotion, right? And just feeling what that's like. And that once it leaves you, right, you've processed it, you've healed it. Now it won't come back because it's already there. And then in your everyday life, we're not talking about past lives, in your everyday life, when you do experience anger now, or right, anger, sadness, you know what that means. You know when it shows up, you have the tools to manage that, right? Because you've already allowed it to break you and move through you and become you. So these are different things that people are afraid. And so it is unfortunate. So I totally agree with what you're saying because, there are psychics living in Los Angeles, girl. There are psychics everywhere. It's like the bodega, but psychics here. And they're all ready to tell you like, hey, you were this, hey, you were that. But it is until you do these past life regressions, and Tracy was beyond generous and kind to perform one on me. And it's funny too because I have been calling in this experience for quite some time. I've been wanting to know what that felt like, because I can feel that there was something I was holding on to, this boulder in my soul of emotions that I wasn't processing. And so we actually did this yesterday, and I will say, like, the after effect and all the emotions that arise, like, I felt so tender, raw, and because I teach mindfulness, right, I just allowed it to be. And I did have to go to work, and I just surrendered. And not like, because I drive for Uber right now, and everybody that would pick up was just magical. It was just filling my cup because my cup was depleted from releasing, right? And so it was beautiful how every person that came in, and then by the time I got home, I just was home by myself, made dinner, and I went to sleep because it was just giving myself grace that I needed just the space to just be and process. And it was so remarkable to go through each lifetime. So for me, the theme was healing my abandonment issue. And Tracy gives you like a prep meditation prior to this, and it really helps, because if you're not a person who meditates, it can be really difficult to subdue the mind and the body into that space. And for me, I meditate, so it was really easy. It was just in my own space, and it was also really cool to come back after the prep meditation and not feel like, oh, I did fall asleep. You know, I had like moments of like falling asleep, but just like, oh, I don't feel tired, or like I should go to bed. It was just more like, oh, that was exactly what it needed to do to get into the brain and just like train it. I'm training you prior to our session. And I thought that was totally genius. And then getting into the session, this is the other thing I will talk about is the mind wants to interject every time she's walking you through deeper relaxation. The mind wants to start thinking and wants to be like, oh, is this working? Oh, is this real? Oh, is this and that's why I like the prep meditation, so you can see that, to have the self-awareness to see that the brain wants to like interject. Because if you don't have mental training, then and you have, let's say, ADHD, where your mind is your boss, and it's really hard because it's just running, and it won't stop until you learn how to interject the patterning of the thoughts. And I think that's also for anyone who's interested in doing past life regression. I would highly suggest to start doing regular meditations or learn how to stop the thought patterns in some way, because it will not allow you to go into this space.
But when you have the
Yes.
practice hypnosis, it
Yes.
is more than a meditation. It is a hypnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And so it trains the brain so that it's not so fearful about going into this state.
Yeah. Yes, because
So
it,
even
it
if they're not
does.
meditating regularly, this 5 days of that will certainly prepare them
Yes.
for a session.
Yeah, because immediately, like, it stops. Like, like it's the safety, right? Because it's the
It
ego, right? The
is.
survivor. Like, wait, but where are we going? What is this happening? Are you sure? Is this good? Is this? And
Exactly.
then it's just like, oh, oh, oh,
That's right. It's
right.
telling the conscious mind that wants to protect you
Mm-hmm.
that it's okay to relax.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And
And
then
that's when the magic happens.
and that is when the magic happens. And I love the activity that you give in the hypnosis. I'm not gonna say what it is, but it is truly beautiful to go into that space and like see the thing and do the thing, and you're like, oh wow. And also it's also part of the prep for that
Mm-hmm.
moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of like um so when even while we were doing it, I can still sense my mind, not so bad, but I would just be like, yeah, I get it, but let's get into the body, because that's where it is. Let's get into the body. Let's allow for that to space, and then whatever you want to do after that, then and then immediately, my the first life that I saw, it was so immediate to see the marketplace. It was
Mm-hmm.
immediate. Like I didn't have to look for it. It was just it showed up,
Mm-hmm.
that vision, and then everything else that followed through was, I think that was the one that, and I can't wait to talk to you after this, but it was so reflective of my current life in so many ways that it blew my mind afterwards when I was processing and thinking how it all relates to now.
Mm-hmm.
I really just had no words, and I just felt all day. I just let it feel like, wow, connect, 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 connect. It was something special.
The interesting thing is that we allowed your God self,
Mm, mm,
we allowed source to deliver to
mm,
you the
mm-hmm.
exact lifetime you needed to experience
Yeah.
in order to bring all this to the fore for you,
Mm, mm-hmm.
you know?
Yes.
So, but you wouldn't have had this, we wouldn't have had a really good discussion right now if you
Mhm.
hadn't had this experience,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? You
It's
understand so much more now
yes.
than you would have otherwise.
It changed, even because I'm claircognizant. It even changed that field for me.
Interesting.
It did. Like it's all one. Like I have always known that, but I realized that it was all mental knowing. It wasn't feeling knowing. Now the feeling is different. And all the anger that I've had for the past, I'm like emotional now because it's so beautiful. I'm not even sad. I'm just like, wow, this is overwhelmingly amazing. Um, all the anger that I had in the past month dissipated because I am everybody and everybody is me. And it wasn't, the knowing wasn't enough. It was the feeling that was missing.
That's what people deprive themselves of when they just let some psychic tell them who
Yes.
they were, what they
Mm,
were,
mm-hmm.
right? There's so
Yes.
much to be had from having that past life.
So so much. It is life changing. And that's just yesterday. It hasn't even fully unraveled. Because even yesterday, I couldn't tap into the field because I was so tender and I was fine. I was not trying to tap into nobody or anything. I was just like wanting to be in my space, but just feeling all of those other lives and everything that connects and all the people in my current life and how they are part of those lives and um, just seeing everybody so differently too. It's gonna take me a little bit for sure, but it's a
You know,
good change.
you had a really emotional session and
Mm,
you blew through a lot of emotional blockages, but remember afterward I said you got to be kind to yourself. You got to give
yes,
yourself some TLC.
yes,
You've
yes,
got to just allow that tenderness just to be what it
yes,
is.
yes.
And you
And
did, and that was
I did.
great.
It was great. It was really good. I did take my time. I actually, what I did was make myself lunch in quietude.
Hmm. Beautiful.
And that was really just special on its own. I also, because I was so tender, I didn't want external forces to
Hmm.
affect that. I didn't
Yep.
go on social media. I didn't look at videos, nothing. I was just me. I went on the balcony for a little bit. It was just
Mhm.
something that I will never forget, and I am and just beyond grateful for the experience because it just helped so much
That's
to
wonderful.
understand what I've been feeling. And it's funny how it culminated to meeting you because I've been so angry, and I'm like, yeah, it's normal, it's okay, let it out, let it be, let it do. Um, and just not understanding the anger. And then once the session arrived, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Um, we're
Hmm.
good. Anger, are you good? And Anger's like, yeah, I'm playing video games. I'm playing video games. I'm
Yeah.
not interested in participating anymore. It's like, okay,
Right. Right.
yeah.
It
So
canceled itself out.
yes, it definitely did.
That's what I mean when I say reconciled,
Mhm.
because then you have this strong emotion of anger, and then you realize, this is why, this is how it comes back to me, and
Mhm.
this cancels this out, and then it just
Yes,
becomes
right.
nothing.
Nothing. Right. Now, do you have because you've helped so many people in so much time that you've been doing this. Do a lot of your clients end up being friends with you?
If I let every client become friends with me and into my inner circle all the time, I think I wouldn't
Right.
have any time to do what I love to do. And I love doing what I love to do. And that's why I invited to
Yeah.
offer you a PLR, because I just love doing what I do. It's about
Yeah.
helping people heal. It's about
Right.
the transformation. And if I can contribute to that in a small
Yeah.
part,
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to do it. And I
Right.
love what I do. They say if you love what you do enough to do it for free, then you're doing the right thing. And that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Have you had your own experiences? Have you had someone do it to you?
Yes, yes, I've been able to train my husband.
Oh, awesome.
So, plus, I will tell you, in the early days when I was doing this with friends and family and everybody, uh, in the early 2000s, I had I was doing girlfriends all the time,
Yeah.
and they would say, "Oh, it's you. We're together in Greece, and we're sitting on the ground, and we're listening to a
Right.
master." You know,
Right.
so I would be in their lifetimes, and that was very cool. That
Yeah.
was really neat. So, but I have had some of my own. Yeah, I had one 2 weeks ago. I was having an issue with my back,
Mm.
and it's a recurring issue where I felt like I had a clamp around my chest or something. And so we went to a past life, and I was a black man and I was the head of the tribe in Africa
Yeah.
when they came and basically kidnapped us all and put us on a ship. But
Mm.
I was stabbed in the process,
Mm.
and my lung collapsed. But they brought my body to the ship. I wasn't dead yet.
Man.
Bringing my body to the ship allowed them, so they thought somehow that because the chief or the boss man was still with the tribe, they would be somehow calmer. But I ended up dying, and
Mm.
they threw me overboard.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So, but that cleared my back. I don't have that same issue with my back anymore.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I did develop a birthmark on my back between my shoulder blades, and I have to check to see if it's fading or if there's any impact on that,
Yeah.
having had that
Yeah.
past life. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I could totally see that. It makes sense that you bring back, certain even big birthmarks or
Hmm.
something that it's traumatized from, right,
Yeah,
these experiences. And
yeah, carries through. It carries through
yeah,
to this life.
right. And it's remarkable the fractalization of it all.
Hmm.
That's what blows my mind. Like because I really just like my mind wanted to explore further about the fractalization of our lights and how we get to live these lives and still carry that and still be connected. And it's just mind blowing. I highly recommend it to everybody. I say if you're open minded about past lives and reincarnation, this is for you. If you're curious, this is for you. If you have an injury or so, that's something that's been recurring, this is for you. I think this is for everybody, but everybody's not open to the space, and that's okay too. Um, because it is life changing, absolutely. And last night I thought, for the first time, I really don't know, and that's okay. Moving forward, I don't know what's gonna come. I don't know what's gonna be. Plans of life, I don't have them. It's just I don't know, and that's okay. So
You're in a
thank you.
happy being state.
Yes, yes, I'm just being. I don't have the outside pressures of what's next or what do I do. It's just like, no, this was a lot. This was beautiful.
There was a therapist named John Bradshaw, psychotherapist or psychologist. I'm not sure what he was, but he used to say, you don't want to be a human doing. We're just human doings. We're
Mm-hmm.
doing all the
Mm-hmm.
time. You want to step into being a human being.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that sounds like that's what you're talking about.
Yes,
Being a
just
human being.
yes, and surrendering, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
usually when I'm driving, I'm just like hoping that I get certain money and certain people, and it's just like because I was in such a surrendered state that it just showed up without me putting the doing.
Wow, isn't that wonderful? You just created your reality because of the clearness of your
Mm-hmm.
emotional state.
Yes, yes, because I actually had this beautiful advice from a female driver once. I was her passenger, and she said, if you're thinking of driving, this was years ago, I give you this advice. If you're not feeling like your best self or you're in a bad mood, don't drive that day, right? Because then you're attracting this space. You're going to attract these customers that way. Or you're going to, people on the road, either way. And so I always sat with that and I love that. And I did listen to that space and it was great. I drove 4 years ago and it was great. And then this time around, I've grown and changed so much. And noticing those spaces that I can now because I've learned so much about myself that even on my lowest emotional state, I can still go out, but I know how to control that space within myself and still get what I need out of my job, right? And not allowing other things and just be like, okay, if something occurs, it's just me pushing out my emotional state instead of holding it while I'm doing my thing. So that's a different practice on its own, but it
Well,
helps.
we
Uh-huh.
create our own realities.
Yes.
And we are like beacons sending out, we are transceivers. We receive energy and we send energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we clear that field from blocked emotional energy,
Yeah.
then we're able to put out what we want cleanly without emotional attachment,
Yes. Yes.
without
Exactly.
desperation. Yeah.
That part. Um, is there anything else that you wanted to share before I ask you my last question, regarding um, the work that you do and the love that you share with all of us when you're helping healing us?
I think the only thing I'd like to say, Claudia, is that I don't think most people realize how powerful they are
Mm,
as a divine part of all that is, of source energy that created us. We all have a divine spark, and you were talking about fractalization. We are a
yes.
fractal of God,
Yes.
and as such, it, we are powerful
Yes.
entities.
Yes.
So I just hope people will understand that they have much more control over their lives than they know.
Yes. Yes. I guess that answers my last question, because usually I say is there anything that you want to share that people need to take with them today? And I think
Mm-hmm,
that was it. That was quite beautiful.
mm-hmm.
Tracy, I am forever indebted to you for the experience, for this conversation. Yes, like
Well, you're very
I
welcome. I
I
was
don't
pleased to do it. It was my pleasure.
it was everything, and a gratitude expression will never be enough. Um, because it's just bigger than what I imagined it to be. And I was welcoming it. I was expecting it to come, and when it came, it was much bigger, and I highly suggest and recommend it to everybody. And as always, I will have Tracy's information, her links. She'll be on my website as well. So you can reach out to her if you have any questions. Yes.
One more thing. I have just developed a group session.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Yes.
twice a month. In case you would love to try it, in case
Mhm.
you would like to try it, but you're not sure you want to make the investment, it's only $20, and we're doing
Mhm.
2 sessions of 2 hours each a month. And you're welcome to join. You can find more information on my website, which is visitapastlife.com. Yeah, I hope to
Yeah.
see Claudia there too. We're
Yes.
going to
I will be
practice,
there.
yeah, we're going to
Yes.
practice a lot of past life regression in a group session,
Mhm.
and you'll get a taste of it.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And I'm definitely going to be doing that because, I mean, the what we tapped into was just specifically to the issue at hand. And there's so many other things and so many questions that I have regarding my other life. So I will definitely be joining, and I hope to see all of you there. Those that are interested. I think that's a great starting offering for anyone who's curious and wants to see what this is about. So that's a great place to start. Um, Again, thank you for coming on today and sharing your light with us. And I want to thank all the listeners for expanding with us today. And remember, as always, that the breath is the secret, and always lead with love. And until next time, thank you again for listening in.